This is Project Nobara. What they claim is Fedora is a very good workstation OS, but anything involving any kind of third-party or proprietary packages is usually absent from a fresh install. A typical point-and-click user can often struggle with how to get a lot of things working beyond document editors and web browsers. Might as well be confused inside the Linux universe itself. So first thing I did was to install OBS Studio, which worked fine. I'm currently recording on OBS. Unfortunately, the resolution was set at 720p by default, which took a toll on the video quality, but I have fixed it later. Wine comes default installed in the system also, through Wine Tricks, which I ran, but had a lot of errors. Let me get Notepad++ for a test if it works out of the box. exe files are not set to run through Wine by default. An archive manager pops up when you try to launch an exe file. But you can set it manually by right-clicking and setting it to run with a different application. Wine works perfectly fine. I installed Notepad++ and it works fine. It also comes with GNOME tweaks to change the application of GNOME and JDK applications differently. Also, you have the option for changing the Qt-based applications, so Qt-based theming can also be done through a separate application provided. But I installed a Qt-based app and it did not have any effect on it due to some reason. The first thing, you will be greeted by this Calamaris installer page where it will have the Welcome to Nobara Linux 37 installer written. Now let us cancel this and quit this. First, let us talk about the desktop. The desktop looks clean here because I have removed some of the icons, but you can always get them back. Just right click and open desktop icon settings and you will get all these icon options over here. So by default, home and trash were enabled. Now it is evident that this operating system was made in mind for users who have come from the Windows environment, having the start menu look like that of Windows 10 and before operating systems. Now this is actually the Arc menu. If you go to the Arc menu settings, now you can also get the Arc menu by enabling the extensions in the extension store for GNOME extension. There are some options available inside the Arc menu settings itself. First of all, if you go to menu and choose the menu layout, you will find that by default it is using the Arc menu layout. But you can change it. You can change it from here to something like Whisker, which will be using a different layout like this one, or the GNOME menu, which again changes to this. There is also the option available for Mint, which will look like this, or also you can get it for Budget, which looks like this. Now there are a number of options available inside the Arc menu layout itself, but the most minimal layout out of this is the runner, which basically launches a small search bar from where you can search for your applications and launch them easily from there. Even inside settings, you can enable the option for showing frequent applications, which if you click there, you will find the frequent applications you access over the launcher itself. But due to some reason, it is not showing up now. Now let us get back to the original Arc menu layout. Even right-clicking on the Arc menu icon brings up a separate list to access the Arc menu settings, and even the dash to panel settings pose as the taskbar. And my voice might sound a little bit different from this point because rest of the audio which has been recorded on OBS Linux is completely distorted after that point. You can also change a couple of options from here itself. Display the panel on a specific monitor or show it on all the monitors. Choose among styles. You can change the paddings, icon margins, panel thickness, behavior, action, or do some fine-tuning. Last, we have the About page. That is not the end. Let us now open some apps provided with Nobara Linux. Let us open Firefox, Software, and File Manager. Now in the taskbar, you will find this icon from where you can turn on tiling windows itself, which will change the entire layout from floating windows to tiling in GNOME. And this is an extension available in the GNOME extension, but it is available by default in the official version of Nobara Linux, which is an added advantage. But there are still some problems with the extension, and as you can see the software window, it is kind of overlapping with the others, but when I snap it out, it just works fine. Now you can change the settings of the tiling windows from here itself by changing the amount of gaps that is there. You can increase the gaps or decrease it according to your requirement. You can also add some floating window exceptions. For example, when I open GNOME terminal, you can see that it is opening as a floating window instead of a tiled window. That can be changed from the extension settings itself. So as you can see, if I remove GNOME terminal from the debarred list, you get that as a tiled window. When I add it to the debarred list, it will show up as a floating window. Next comes GNOME version. It uses GNOME 43, which is super smooth. Most of the apps are ported to libadwaita, and those which use GTK 3 are themed using the one that mimics GTK 4, providing an awesome level of consistency throughout the entire system. If you open the settings application and head over to About, you will find the version of GNOME getting used. You can also open the terminal, which does not open with Ctrl-Alt-T, and the Arc menu has shifted its location. Anyway, you can enter NeoFetch in the terminal, which is pre-installed. Now if you look into the About page of the GNOME terminal, it is actually using GTK 3. But the theming is done well with porting, and it looks very consistent with its libadwaita brothers. And if you open the About page of the file manager, which is basically using GTK 4, you will find that they look a little bit different. So yes, there is a level of disparity between the two applications, but the developers have done enough to bring about some level of consistency. The theme looks good. Now what about the icons? I guess they are using Papyrus icon theme. Simple and beautiful icon pack, which I have used often in my theming videos, which can again be modified from GNOME tweaks. But if you really want to customize everything inside the system, then they suggest you to get the GNOME or the KDE edition. For pre-installed extensions, themes, and icons, you need to get this one. Now it also provides some other important features which are also very useful. For example, if you want to change the icon settings from the desktop itself, you can right-click and change the icon settings. So that is it, but it opens a separate small window for changing all the icon preferences there instead of opening just the appearance tab of the settings, which happens often in Ubuntu because it uses the latest software in this case. Now you can change the theme from dark mode to light mode by clicking on the panel itself. You will get the option there. Clicking on that will change the wallpaper also, along with the dark mode or light mode theming of the entire system. Now the problem here is that if you right click and open the icon settings, it does not change from dark mode to light mode. Neither does the shell theme or the panel theme changes to something like the light mode. They all stay in the dark mode itself. But the other applications, for example the settings, file manager and more, they all change to the light mode. So it creates a somewhat inconsistent theming there. Now if you open the settings application while you are in light mode, the Nobara logo becomes almost invisible because it is written in white. So dark mode by default. Better for the eyes and the system also. Now for applications, you have the Nobara package manager, which I could not run for some reason and it just won't work here, but I don't know what is the problem. Nobara also comes with Flatpak installed, so you can install software coming on Flatpak easily from the software store itself. You get this drop-down menu. If the application is available on FlatHub, you can choose Flatpak from here and click install. That will install the software from the Flatpak version. For document editing, spreadsheet or presentations, they provide an alternative which is OnlyOffice. And that is very much similar in the user interface to PowerPoint, Excel or Word, whatever you want to use. But user interface does take some time to load. Nobara also comes installed with Timeshift, which helps you to recover your Linux system if you do something wrong. If you mess up everything, you can recover your Linux system to like what it was previously when the Timeshift backup was taken. So it is very handy in this case. So that's all for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Do like, share and subscribe. I'll catch you in the next one.